Hi Quilters, it's a new Snippets with Patterns by Jen. This is a weekly video challenge designed to get you using your stash, trying new techniques, and finishing projects. This week, our challenge is to put a label on something. Do you have quilts that are laying around, they don't have labels on them, and you know you should do it, but you just haven't taken the time? This week, we're going to take care of that. We're going to put a label on one finished project. That's it. That's the challenge. So go get that project, grab some fabric, and let's put a label on it. Here's the printed labels now on the fabric paper. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut these apart. And I just want to make sure that I have, a 1/4 inch on either. So I'm going right down the middle. So 1/4 inch here, and that my line is straight on my ruler, not the mat, on my ruler. Go bring this over just a little bit. Nope. Okay, so I'm going to make sure my top and bottom are lined up. I'm not going to worry about if the ruler line is lined up on this edge, because I'm more worried about getting that 1/4 inch space on between the two labels. So cut that. Now the quilt I am labeling is called Fall Retreat, so I am going to use the leaves, and again setting up that 1/4 inch and making sure my ruler is straight. Okay, and go ahead. All right, so we'll set aside the rest of that. I'm going to turn this and trim off this little extra. It looks just a little bit big to me compared to the other side, so I'll just line up. And you don't have to. It's just what I'm going to do to make my heart happy. All right, and now we're going to go ahead and write. So the name of the quilt that I am labeling is Fall Retreat. So I'll go ahead, just put in that. And made by me. This was made all the way back in November of, well, let me think while I spell out November, 2018. I am going to put, I was an Island Batik ambassador when I did this, so all right, and there is my label. So the next step then is to peel off the paper and add some heat and bond or some sort of way, and you don't have to, you could just simply stitch it on if you wanted as well. With these labels, you could add a little color if you wanted to, or anything like that right now. This would be the time to do it. I feel that it's easier to write in color and do that kind of thing while the paper is still on. But when you're done with that, then you're going to take the paper off, and you're going to need to add either a heat and bond type thing or plan on stitching kind of through here to add it to the back of your quilt. And so let's go ahead, we'll take the paper off, and I will show you what I'm going to do next. Okay, so to peel it, you're just going to try and grab a corner here and just carefully, gently pull it off. Okay, and here is your piece of fabric. So pretty. Okay, so next step. For me, I like to do some heat and bond on this. But I also like to do it where I have a 1/2 inch so I can turn my label under. So I'm actually going to add a little bit of a fabric border around this piece. So in order to do that, I am going to measure my sides first and cut a piece that's going to be 1 inch by, well, we'll make it 4 1/8. So now to do that, I'm going to find my 4 1/8 line here. Make sure that everything else is straight. I'm going to trim that off. Okay, so now I'm going to go cut 2 pieces that are 1 inch wide by 4 1/8. I'm going to add them to both sides, and then I'll measure that and get my next cuts for the top and the bottom. I've sewn my borders all the way around, and I'm going to now add some heat and bond. That's how I put my labels on, just to give me a little bit more stability as I'm stitching this down. And so I'm going to actually just do enough to cover the middle part, not the outside border. So I'm going to go cut my heat and bond at about 4 1/8 by 5 1/8. So 4 1/8 by 5 1/8, maybe a little less than 4. I might go 4 by 5 1/8 so that I can keep it within this, because then once I put it onto the quilt, I will go ahead and fold this over, and that way this will fold over and not be stuck. So I'll show you how that works. But for now, I'm going to do a 4 by 5 1/8 inch cut, and I am going to just simply use, see if I can get this the right way for you, the Heat and Bond Feather Light. I am just going to line that up so you can see it's just going to fit right over that printed paper, fabric paper. And put this on according to instructions. For this one, it says use a circular motion for about 2 seconds. I'll go ahead. And then once this is done, you want it to let it cool. And then we're going to peel the paper off, the paper backing off after it cools off. So let's go ahead, peel the backing off. I don't know if you can, yeah, you can kind of see there's a little shine because that's the adhesive. And then I like to put mine on the bottom right-hand corner of the back. So then when you flip it, it'll be the left-hand corner, but this is the back and it's the bottom right-hand corner right now. And I just try to make it look even around the edges here and straight. All right, so now we do this for 4 to 6 seconds. And we'll go ahead and press. All right, and now my next step that I do is I turn this about 1/4 of an inch under. So I get kind of a 1/4 inch seam allowance basically. And I'm going to kind of finger press along, try and make this as even as possible. I'm just eyeballing this, but I do want to give myself a little bit of a press. That'll give me a crease that I can follow while I am stitching. Okay, and so then I'll do the same all the way around. Again, just eyeballing it and then coming with the hot iron and giving it a press. Using this pressed edge kind of as my guide, and I will choose a thread that is going to be, so probably a cream, because I want it to match the border, not the background. I'm going to go ahead and match the border of this label and just use a whip stitch and stitch it down. Okay, let's talk some stitching tools here before we get going. So I am just using a Gutermann polyester thread. It's the closest I have, and I think that'll work. A thread conditioner, which Thread Heaven, I think they have closed, but I'm using this one still, have been for years. A little pair of snips. I like a metal thimble. You use what you like, but I do think a thimble or something to protect your finger as you're pushing this needle through, and then a size 10 needle, and the most important part, a needle threader, so that we can get our needle threaded. All right, now I'm going to open up my needle case here quick just to get a needle out, and then now a sharp needle will make not just stitching your label down, but also your binding. And these are the same tools I use for binding. it will make it so much easier if you have a good sharp needle. They do get dull after a while. You do need to replace them. All right, so I'm going to take some thread out, and I like to make sure that I have enough that I am not going to have to knot in the middle of this. Now I'm going to pay attention to the fact that this is the side I cut. This is the side that came off the needle first. Okay, that is important. So I'm going to run this through the conditioner quick, remembering that this is the side that was cut. Okay, and we want to remember this because we want to be sewing with the thread going the same direction that it was on the spool. Okay, I don't know if that makes sense, but so this side now is the side that was first, and so it was pulled off the spool this direction, right? Okay, so we're going to thread our needle. Again, this is the side that I cut off of the spool. All right, and so the end that was cut from the spool, I am going to knot. This is the one I'm going to knot, okay? All right, so let's give that a quick little clip. All right, now to start, get this set up. I tend to start like I do with my binding, a little bit in. You do not want to start on the corner, especially when putting in a label, because you don't want to have to mess with trying to knot this and end here. You want to be able to kind of come in a little bit and then go ahead and knot it, okay? So I start in a little bit. I'm going to be stitching around this way. Okay, so here is my edge that I'm going to be using as my guide. Okay, I'm going to come in underneath it. Make sure you're not coming through to the other side. I'm going to pull up just a little bit. Make sure I'm not coming through. Shorten this a little bit. All right. So I came up right where I needed to. Goodness. And I'm going to just quick catch the edge of that with my needle so that we can start stitching. Okay, so I've turned this now so it's a little bit easier for me and hopefully for you to see as I do this. I'm going to keep this crease folded. All right, I'm going to come back down right where I came up and caught that fabric. I'm going to go through, check and make sure if you need to that you haven't gone through to the other side and pull up. Okay, go ahead, and you can do multiple stitches like this in a row if you are comfortable. I'm going to show you one at a time, and I'm just catching the edge of this crease, and I'm taking my needle and I want to go right back down where I came up, but also I'm trying to keep it a little bit underneath that edge as well. Okay, we're going to go ahead, come up, catch just a little bit, and continue all the way around unless you get a knot, and then we're going to pull that out carefully and see what happened here. Here we go. All right, so we'll just keep going around all the way around, and I will keep stitching kind of as I should have started closer to the corner so I could show that to you quickly, but I'll keep stitching here and speed the video up a little bit and catch you up when I get to the corner. Okay, so I'm coming up to my seam, and this is where I'm going to just pause for a second. I think I will rotate this so I can show you better, hopefully. And I'm going to, so here I've got this part folded, and now I'm going to fold this down as well. I'm not going to worry about the rest of it, but I do want this part folded nicely so I can see that it's a nice corner. Okay, and then I'm going to I'm going to find my needle. Where'd that go? There we go. Okay, so I'm going to keep this folded, and I want to catch, so what happens here is this is going to be a nice folded crease, and we're not going to get this the loose edge, but we do need to stitch that down. So while it's here, okay, I'm going to hold that piece and go ahead, and these stitches I'm going to make a little bit closer than they have been because I want to make sure that end stays closed and keeps that fabric. And I also want to double check I'm not coming through because there's a seam there, or there's some quilting there. But I'm making these stitches a little bit smaller, a little bit closer together to make sure the edge of that label doesn't pop out later. I'm going to go all the way to the edge. Okay. Check it because I couldn't see around my finger. All right, and then I'm at that corner. And again, you're just going to have to kind of play with this as you go, just to try and keep it in line. It's just fabric. Make it go where you want it to go. But now I'm at that point, that corner, and I'm going to take a couple, well, I think I'm close enough. I can just take one quick extra stitch right there to make sure that point stays. And then I will just continue stitching along this line. And I will do that for each corner. I will come in, so I'll sew all the way around down. And when I get to about here, I'm going to stop and fold this piece under and stitch to the corner and then continue. Okay, so I'm going to continue to do that, and then I will come back when I've gotten all of this stitched around. I will come back and we'll knot it here and bury our thread. All right, so I have stitched all the way around, and now I'm going to show you how to knot and bury this thread. And I'm hoping that it works on the first time. All right, so you're going to take your thread and your needle, and you are going to wrap your thread around the needle 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then you want to pull this down so that that little bundle of thread is right about where you came out the last stitch. Okay, I'm going to keep this pulled kind of tight. You're going to pull your needle through. All the way through. And get that little knot. Okay, and now you'll take your needle and your thread. You're going to go down in, and then you can come out anywhere you want. Okay, you're going to want to try and catch some of that batting that's in there, and come on out. Make sure you're not coming out on the wrong side. Pull that through, and then give it a little tug, and you'll hear a pop. And now your knot is buried, and you will come kind of pull it taut. Don't pull it hard, pull it kind of taut. Carefully clip right by the thing, and now your threads are hidden. And you have a beautiful label for your quilt, so everyone knows 100 years from now who made it and who you made it for. And those are my tips for putting labels on your quilts. If you like the labels that I used, they are free download when you sign up for my weekly newsletter, Bites of PBJ. So grab a label, put it on your quilt, and call it done. Go make something you love.